Good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
How
ma'am.
are you all?
Fine, ma'am.
Very good. Okay, so how was your previous lecture?
Ma'am, good.
Okay. Okay. So, all set?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so very firstly, tell me what is this?
Ma'am, this is a pot
Yes, very good. This is about, what is the use of this pot?
for storage of water.
Yeah, very good. In all times or always in now times, we use these pots to store water. So what is the color of this pot?
Brown.
Very good. Okay, so do you know any story related to the pot which gives a good teaching in life?
No, ma'am.
No? So it's okay. So students, today we are going to learn or to study about a very interesting story called The Cracked Pot. The The Cracked Pot. So open your books. I'll read first for you. You all have to listen attentively and carefully. Page number 97. So should we start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The Cracked Pot. There was a water bearer in India. He had two large pots. Each pot hung on each side of a pole. He carried these pots on his shoulders. He delivered water to his master in these two pots. One of the pots had a crack in it, but the other pot was perfect. The cracked pot was always half filled, but the other pot had full water at the end of the long walk from the river to his master's house. For 2 years, this went on daily. The bearer delivered only 1.5 pots full of water to his master's house. Of course, the perfect pot was proud of itself. It was perfect for what it was made. But the poor cracked pot was ashamed of its crack. It was sad that it could bring only half the water. After 2 years, one day the cracked pot spoke to the water bearer. I am ashamed of myself and I want to say sorry to you. The water bearer asked, why? What are you ashamed of? The pot replied, for these past 2 years, I delivered less water than the other pot because of this crack in my side. My water leaks out all the way back to your master's house. You don't get full value for your efforts because of my crack. The water bearer felt sorry for the old cracked pot. He said to the pot, today, when we return to the master's house, I want you to notice the beautiful flowers along the path. As they returned from the river, the cracked pot took notice of the sun warming the beautiful wild flowers on his side of the path. It was happy to see the beautiful flowers, but at the end of the path, it still felt bad because it had again leaked out half the water. It apologized to the water bearer for its fault. The water bearer said to the pot, did you notice that there were flowers only your side of the path? There were no flowers on the other pot side. I knew about your crack. I planted flower seeds on your side of the path, and every day while we walked back from the river, the leaked water fell on them. Without you being just the way you are, we would not have seen these beautiful flowers. So, understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So now, one by one, you have to read this story for me. So who will read it first?
Ma'am, me.
Okay, so start.
There was a water barrier in India. He had two large pots. Each pot hung on each end of a pole. He carried these pots on his shoulders. He de-
Delivered.
delivered water to his master in these two pots. One of the pots had a crack in it, but the other pot was perfect. The cracked pot was always half filled, but the other pot had full of water. At the end of the long walk from the river to his master house, for 2 years, this went on daily. The barrier delivered only 1.5 pot full of water to his master house.
Sit down. Stop. Next.
Of course, the perfect pot was proud of itself. It was perfect for what it was made. But the poor pot,
Cracked.
cracked pot was
Ashamed.
ashamed of its crack. It was sad that it could bring only half the water. After 2 years, one day the cracked pot spoke to the water
Bearer.
bearer. I am ashamed of myself and I want to say sorry to you. The water bearer asked, why, what are you ashamed of? The pot replied, for these past 2 years, I delivered less water than the other pot because of his crack in my side. My water leaks out all the way back to your master's house. You do not get full value for my efforts because of my crack. The water bearer felt sorry for the old cracked pot. He said to the pot, today when we return to the master's house, I want you to notice the beautiful flowers along the path.
Very good. Sit down. Next.
As they returned from the river, the cracked pot took notice of the sun warming the beautiful wildflowers on his side of the path. It was happy to see the leaked out half the water. I uh, ap-
Apologize.
apologized apologized to the water bearer for its fault. The bearer said to the pot, "Did you notice that there were flowers only your side of the path? There were no flowers on the pot's side. I knew about your crack. I planted flower seeds on your side to the path, and every day while we walked back from the river, the leaked water fell on them without you being just the way you are. We would not have seen these beautiful flowers."
Okay, very good. Sit down. So as you have read all the chapter, the major problem was just your pronunciation of some words which I have written on the board. So let's learn how to pronounce these words correctly. First of all, this is a bearer. What is this?
Bearer,
Very good. Next is cracked.
cracked,
Delivered.
delivered,
Because.
because
Efforts.
efforts
Returned.
returned,
And leaked.
leaked.
Very good. Now I hope next time we didn't pronounce it wrongly. So now I will write some difficult words on the board. You have to write that words in your copies also. So open your copies and write down the difficult words with me. Okay?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
very first one is planted. Planted means, as we say that we planted, we are going to plant a tree. So means to place something in a particular position. Second one is ashamed. Ashamed is guilty. When you did something wrong, maybe you all should be guilty. You feel guilty or embarrassed also. You can also say embarrassed. Third is to deliver. It is to bring or hang over. Hand over. Fourth one is apologized. Apologize is excuse for some fault. So these are the difficult words which is in your chapter. Now all you have written or not?
Yes, ma'am.
So I am erasing it. So firstly let me check your copies. Have you written or not? Okay, so I am erasing these. guys again. So let's. Okay student, is this visible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me firstly, what is this?
This is
Water
a water bearer.
This is a river and this is the master's house. So before the starting the topic, I'm just telling you the things which I have made. So let's start. A water bearer had two large pots. Right? These are the large pots. Each pot hung on each end of a pole which he carried across his neck. One pot had a crack in it. The other pot was perfect. End of a long walk from the river to the master's house, the perfect pot arrived with full water, and the perfect pot was very happy because he arrived with the full water, right? But the cracked pot arrived with only half water. Is it clear? So now for 2 years this went on and on and on. Okay? So the water bearer would deliver 1.5 pot filled with water every day instead of 2 full pots of water. The cracked pot was very ashamed of not being perfect. It was ashamed that it could fulfill only a half of its job. Then one day the cracked pot spoke to the water bearer like, I am ashamed of myself and I am sorry. Water bearer asked, why? What are you ashamed of? For the past 2 years, I have been able to deliver only half of my load because of this crack. Sorry. And because of me, you don't get fully paid. Water bearer replied, on the way to the master's house, why want you to notice the beautiful flowers along the path? So the next day, when they came back from the river to the master house, the cracked pot notices the sun warmed the flowers, the wild, beautiful wild flowers. So the cracked pot was a bit satisfied, but still the pot felt bad. And again apologize to his water bearer, right? So the water bearer shows the pot that, did you notice that there were flowers on your path? There are no flowers on the other side. That is because I have always known your fault. So I planted flowers, seeds on your path. Every day while we walk back, you have watered those seeds for the past 2 years. So I have picked I have picked these beautiful flowers to decorate my master's table. If you were not what you are, he would not have had his beauty to grace his house. So this was the little story which I want to show with the help of a model. So maybe now this is clear to you all. So thank you. So now I am giving you. Okay, now, so tell me the moral of the story in your words. What is the moral of the story? Yes, please. All of us have faults and unique flaws in ourselves, right? We are like these crackpots. We are like these crackpots. And it is these faults from which we can make our lives interesting and rewarding. Okay? We have to take everyone as they are and look good and look for good in them. There is a lot of good in you also, right? So remember to appreciate all the different types of people in your life. Life would have been boring or not so interesting without these cracks or crackpots. So, what is the moral of the story now? Now, the moral of the story is that physical appearance doesn't matters. Your deeds or your goodness matters. Okay? So now I am giving you 3 to 4 minutes to a silent reading. Do a silent reading without making any noise, or if you have any doubt, just raise your hand and ask. But do not make noise. Now the time is yours. Okay, students. Now, have any doubts? Any one of you have a doubt or not? No.
No, ma'am.
So now just close your copies. Close your books. Close your copies. Okay. So, how many pots did the water bearer have?
There are 2 pots.
What problem did one of the pots had?
The one of the pot had cracked in it.
Very good. Tell me, what is the moral of the story?
Physical appearance
Yes.
doesn't matter.
Very good.
Your
Huh?
goodness matter.
Very good. Very good. Now your homework is complete your activity 3 given in